y'all? Oh, it wasn't quite as many people, so I've got enough copies, we can make more. So the first thing we want to do is just make sure that we're getting exactly what you want. Mark's going to join us in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if y'all can share, yeah, that'll leave him a copy and me a copy. And then somebody can have mine if this is.
Where you gonna sit on that, you sit on that end, John?
Well, I think Mark's going to sit there.
Okay, okay. That's good. That'll be fine.
I like to take his seat. I'm going to just kind of run down that real quick and see if it's the type of thing that you're looking for.
Okay. Go ahead.
Follow what I'm doing there? This is it's what we call a cluster. When you get federal grants, and you do multiple things, the department that issues them, whether it's the FAA, HUD, whatever, puts them in what they call a cluster. All right, so this first one you see, like CDB entitlement, that's a cluster.
Okay, understand it.
All right, and then within that cluster, we did these activities.
Okay. All right. And the Gordon Street, Emile Street, Adair Street. Okay. All right. What I'm looking for is the actual comparison of what type of development we did on the south side and versus what type of development we did on the north side. Now, they sent me everything before, it was 3 districts, and just this hood stuff. And that didn't tell me really anything. What we had there was what it's doing just for hood.
Okay.
But we say anything about where the space on the north side.
Hello, gentlemen, how are you?
It's fine.
All right. Hopefully what this is, go ahead.
I'm Jeff Valdosta, so I just want to make this, I was down to last week's council meeting and I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't have the opportunity to see what was passed on to you for your records request. So I just want to make sure, number one, that we're giving you, we want to make sure we're giving you what you're asking for on the open record. That's the first thing.
I answered that very quickly. No.
Okay.
I didn't get all that.
Okay. So if you will I did think, I thought that's what you were going to give me. So I just want to get a good understanding of what it is you're asking for so finance folks can get those numbers together for you.
Okay.
Because what he put together from the open records request from the federal dollars,
Okay.
we put we get airport, federal dollars for the airport grants we get, we just run through the city. So do you want that kind of thing included?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that on there for you. And then, so what else is it we're lacking? So I want to make sure you have that on this report that you asked for.
It's basically the amount of projects that you have here that indicate that they was here on the south side, and then the one that was basically the money was spent on the north side.
Okay, now we don't have it broken out south. All we did by district for you to kind of give you an idea, but you see anything on your list there, anything with HUD, CDBG, one of the same, one just runs to the other. That was all in District 1, 2, or 3. And I think Chuck put the street address to kind of give you an idea of where within those 3 districts, the actual street it was on, whether it be a rehab or a housing, a complete new house, or in some cases you'll sell in Mr. Ross, we did some street like South Troop Street over here. We used $400,000 of CDBG money to finish that South Troop Street. So that's on there for you. If you need it, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe we didn't put it in the right, would you like it rearranged a little bit differently?
Well, it needs to be where it's distinctive, where we can know that this is where it's a side of the city, because you know, that's something we get things.
Well, it's got the street name on there.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So we gotta get you close enough to.
That'd be close enough.
Just not look at the.
No, I did not put the exact.
Hey, oh, yeah. I said, I think everybody might knock at the door.
I think that'll get you, kind of where you want to.
Okay.
The, districts up here at the top represent the council districts.
Right.
And, I think you're probably familiar with how they're laid out, but this is roughly a pie, with 1, 2, 3, coming across the bottom, 4, 5, 6, sweeping across the top.
But Chuck, did you put the street?
Put the street name.
The street name, yeah.
But I did not put the exact.
We
address.
can't put the exact address because of confidentiality issues, but we did, hope that I hope you kind of determine best where in that district, because you got the street on there.
Okay.
And that named by any housing rehab or, a new house that was built.
Well, the time frame is of course for me involved in getting it all sorted out. Might take a little time, but we definitely want to be able to distinguish the difference between the two, the south side and the north side. We definitely want that. You know, we definitely need
Well,
that.
if we look, that's the best we can do right there, Mr.
I
Robinson.
understand.
Is that because the CDBG HUD money is gonna be spent in districts 1, 2, or 3 only. I will say this, one time in District 4, or District 6, one of the two is an overlap 3 kind of close. We did have a little project there one time, but other than that, it's gonna fall in that,
DRA.
the revitalization area, and it's gonna be 1, 2, or 3, where that funding can be used.
When you get to federal funds, how specific is the use stated by the federal government? Does
Well-
it vary by where it comes from?
It can, but within our case, we're an entitlement community when it comes to CDBG. So the funds passed down to us. We've chosen over the years, like, and when we first became a metro city back in 2001 probably, the council made the decision at that time, which was an aggressive, a good idea, but aggressive, was to rid the city of all substandard housing by the year 2020. And, you know, that's a hard target because you get some, by the time you get 1 or 2 fixed, 2 more hit the list. So in our case, as an entitlement community, we still decided to take the majority of that allocation, whatever that is yearly for us, and we put it mostly towards substandard housing. We put it toward housing education for folks trying to finance house or whatever in districts 1, 2, or 3. So we run some programs like that out of it. So they give us some guidelines to go up where we can decide to use the money in districts 1, 2, or 3. And the council's, the majority of that funding does go to substandard housing and housing education, how to finance a house, education, that type of thing. Some of the other programs we've run in the past, it does allow you, like you heard me speak earlier to Mr. Robinson about infrastructure projects. We got down, we were doing the South Troop repaving and sidewalk project a few years back. It has done a lot, they found a lot of infrastructure old that they didn't expect. So what this also allows you to do is in those DRA areas is to put in some type of infrastructure. So we were able to do that. We put some sidewalks in several areas with this CDBG funding. But there are guidelines, you have to stay within their framework. But we do try to put the majority towards substandard housing and housing rehab.
There's actually, go out on the regional commission's website, they've got what they call the overlay map in there, and it'll show you exactly, you know, where the councils are, where the DRA is, and I think even sub-districts of the DRA.
It does, yeah. But those guidelines, they do give you those guidelines. And they were audited once a year as well. We did an audit for all of our projects that we do.
Okay? Anything I'll make this absolutely clear. We do have a south side and a north side. And we know we do not have no development on the south side, and we're trying to find out the comparison of the two different sides. Like we got District 1, District 2, and District 3, they sent me all that, they sent me over the hood.
Right.
And only illustrated hood. But they didn't send me the other three districts. So
There's nothing in our federal dollars for the other three districts. This is where our federal
Okay.
dollars for
So when,
CDBG
all right, so when I took those numbers and wrote those numbers down, it came out to something like, and I divided into the population of the south side of the city. To the low income side, it was like 0.078 cent, less than 1 cent spent per person for the month. So, and then there was, it's over $1 million a year that HUD had allocated that not only was on that list. I was trying to find out where that from.
I was gonna ask you where, I'm not sure where you
In
did
other
this,
words-
if you can find that. Now, you talking the difference between what we had
What you sent me,
gotten over
What
the
you
years
said.
compared to what we spent?
right, it was over a 10-year period. What you sent me was all HUD stuff, and HUD numbers came out to $4 million.
Right, it was all solid with $4 million, our
Right.
allocation's like $5 million
Okay.
something.
Now,
So-
the amount that was actually spent, when I
Right.
told up all three districts, it came out to $2 million some odd dollars.
No, it should be $4 million. That $4 million's right is what's been spent, but that difference is for you. Back in, remember when Mayor Shaw, Mayor Register was here? Do you remember that format?
No.
When, before Vanessa, the lady that was before Vanessa, Mayor Register.
Right.
Not that she did anything wrong, I'm just gonna go back to that time frame. We found out after she left, we had not been doing some environmental, follow through like we should have before we like demolish a house and rebuild. There was some environmental things that we lacked to do. HUD cut us off. They would not let us build a new house like for about 2.5 years. We can do rehab. But what happened is they kept sending us our allocation, but wouldn't allow us to spend our allocation for that time frame. So that difference is where we've been trying to catch up with that, because they gave us the allocation. Because we have a timeliness financial ratio we have to meet every year that we have to calculate. But we spend so much of that current year's allocation plus the prior year's allocation, and we have to meet those timelines. So that difference represents us trying to catch up from that year when they kept sending us allocation, but we were not allowed to build a house. That
You received the funds, but you couldn't spend them.
right, and we're still working on expending the funds. It's just a catch-up time. And then COVID hit and everything stopped, and that kind of hindered part of that catch-up time frame for us.
We had the allocation.
Yeah, we
It
had-
didn't actually come to our bank.
Yeah, we had the allocation, we just couldn't spend the allocation until we made all, sure we did all the corrective actions, and they did another audit, and which took about 2.5 years. So we couldn't do it.
Who made the decision of where the money is spent? You, the city manager, or the board, or who?
The commission, the board of, like we just said, city council has chosen to expend our entitlement money, the majority of it, for substandard housing, whether it be, at first they were just, we used, 100% of it was usually spent for like a stick-built house back from where an existing property was. But, you know, there's a lot of issues with heirs property. We talked about that before, Ms. Robinson, where two cousins own a house, and the way HUD works, you can have one owner that lives there, and that's it. And you have to go exactly from the footprint where the existing house is to demolish and rebuild. So we did start doing more rehab, a lot of rehab, putting roofs on, heating units, AC units. So we have started that. But the mayor and council decide each year, when we get our allocation, those guidelines we were speaking of, where would they like to put their money? And the majority of the allocation is always to, reduction of substandard housing and rehabbing of substandard housing. And then the housing education and some of those things. And we've also, another program we've funded out of that is the Great Promise Partnership, where we take high school students, and they work here at the city, they earn a salary, they learn a trade. They have supplemented that program out of CDBG as well, because Valdosta High School, no matter where you live, Valdosta High School is considering the revitalization area.
Okay.
So the council makes the decision on that yearly allocation.
So, if anyone was at fault, you say the city council was at fault for the structure or everything, the
So
stuff.
I think it's a wise decision to get rid of substandard housing, so I'm not saying at fault for.
Well, my statement, don't misunderstand me now.
Okay, I think I did.
Yeah.
I think I did.
I'm dead serious about this.
I am too. That's why we're here, I want to make sure you
Yeah.
understand.
The condition here is deplorable. And we all want to do something that's positive, to make a change here, if we can, by working together. And the only way we're gonna be able to do that is work our fights for truth and the current way things are set up. Now, things been set up to one side that this community is apparently been neglected from something by some reason, by some means, that it felt so far behind the other half of the city. And when you're on that bridge, you look down and you see it like that, and then we understand and deal with the monuments and all of that, but the monuments don't feed anybody. Okay? So if we find ourselves looking at it realistically, seeing what we'll be able to do with it, we got to look at it from the way it really, really is, and be able to digest what we're gonna need to do to make it better or get some changes to be made. The comparison between the two, it's obvious that something is terribly wrong. We've been wrong here for many years. And it's time now that we can see if we can get something justifiably done, that everybody can benefit from it, so that the crime rates can go down, so that the better living standards can be made, this kind of thing. So that's all we after. And when we made the request, in the sense, the HUD stuff, and it just the whole list of HUD, the three divisions, and 3 districts.
Right, but you understand that's the only 3 districts involved with HUD or CDBG.
Well,
All District 1, 2, or 3 are revitalization. We can't spend it anywhere else but in one of those. Now, we may not be spending the part of that district you would like, maybe, I understand that, but that's why it looks like that.
Well,
That's one of the requirements of the HUD. That's why we're entitlement community. It's got to be in one of those DRA areas for the annual allocation we get. That's where it has to be, and that's why you only see the housing rehabs in districts 1, 2, and 3. And we did that in an effort just to kind of give you an idea of what district, and then number 2, the street name, to kind of get you where it actually was within that district. But that's all the funding we get from HUD as far as that for these type of projects, and that has to be spent districts 1, 2, and 3.
The revitalization you're doing is on private homes, is that correct? These would be people who own.
They have to own their home and have single,
And the conditions are, this is like a grant, or it's a low.
we're one of the few communities left, the entitlement community, when we came in and say, that it's a 100% grant. There's no payback. There's no payback to it. You live in it 5 years, it's yours. Other communities have went because of funding constraints, charging, kind of like Habitat does, a monthly mortgage. We're trying to hold off from that. So once these people get the house, there's no house pay. That's why it's got to be tied up. You can't have it tied up with a cousin in California and, that heirs property. Yeah. So when somebody comes in for an application, if we find that, we've got free legal service for the folks downstairs. We've got an office downstairs that helps with heirs property to help these folks that could it's unbelievable. Some of the, you have 5 or 6 family members all over the place, that can't agree. And, so we send them down and they help them. But yes, it's single family. Rehab is actually kind of what a lot of folks really like it. Is rehab, a new roof, AC, floor, some plumbing, that kind of thing. That's kind of been popular lately, rather than complete ground up rebuild.
The identification of the house, is the homeowner coming forward, or is the city saying there's a problem here?
We have an application period, the beginning of every January 1st. And there's an application process you go through. They review, the staff up here review it, and then when they look for the heirs property is the biggest thing that we look for at that point in time. Then we have Richard Joyner, a housing inspector, that goes out, he looks at it, talks to the homeowner, and once we use, let's say this, I think we got this year, so we got right under like $578,000 of allocation. So once that goes away and we get, then you have to reapply the next year. So the homeowner starts the whole process. Now when we're out riding around our code, our marshals or Richard Joyner himself may see a house that looks like it needs to be, he will definitely stop and say, hey, we got this program.
So he helps to educate the homeowner.
Yes, and he takes, at that point, then he'll take the homeowner by the hand, and we work them through the whole process. And the homes right now we're building, rebuild building, they're over $100,000 homes. But it, like I said, that 2.5 years put us behind when COVID not allow us to build a home. COVID put us behind. And right now, quite honestly, as far as new reconstructs, I think that's why rehab is so popular, is that we're having trouble getting contractors to build the houses. Because they have to qualify through HUD to be, and to build a house for us. And the 1 or 2 we have in our area, they still work, but right now, it's, there's not a lack for somebody to be building something, so we're struggling a little bit there.
What about federal aid toward industry, like the industrial side? Looking at it from not just the housing point of view, but the in general point of view that makes the ball move, that causes everything to stick. Like Wiregrass over there, the city's contributions to programs that's affiliated like that helps progression on that side of the city, which we on this side don't seem to have any. We don't have facilities. And what we was thinking was that when we was coming to partnership, we mentioned the partnership, we still want the partnership, is that we be able to have some emphasis and input. Don't mean we are calling the shots, but we would have emphasis and input to what goes on and help construct something. And we would ask for the $250 million through the city, for the city, not for the people, the city. Okay. And we still trying to pursue it. And at the same token, I told him we had attorneys involved and we were working together together trying to get things done, looking at from all angles and all points of views. We're going to do something. It's not a threat or anything.
No, don't take it.
Don't take that. But we got to do something.
I agree.
To make something work. We can't sit back and just watch it just totally deteriorate, and then the one that's doing good, doing better and better and better, and then we see our children going down the drain, getting brains blowed out and get picked up by the law speeding and whatever you can name, then it's using homeless where you go paper on the street, and then you gotta have cleanup drives. Going down the ramp, you get down the ramp, they tell you got a waiting list for the homeless and this kind of stuff. And then you got city council members out there trying to help feed the people that's hungry and all that. It's not good. And we got to try to find a resolution to see if we get something to work. So that's why I'm trying to get the comparison of the two. So I know you understand that it's the south side and it's the north side, and it's been a traditional old black community here. And since integration and the city with Metro and all of that, we understand it's intermingled and integrated. but you still have integrated segregation whenever a certain group of people are picked out of a group and seen to be targeted. And that's basically what's really happening here. So if we can get beyond that, it might be a process that is beyond everybody's control just by being the way it's set for so many years. Just maybe it's programmed to be that way, but it's really, in reality, it shouldn't be like that. If we don't do something and work together, we don't want to go in. We don't want to go and cause litigation and cause nothing in the city. You know,
Sure.
You know, we want to see the best for the city. But we do have people involved, and we ask some questions, and we want to know how much money is spent on this side, how much money is spent on that side.
I'll tell you,
Yeah, and
for what you
how-
asked for, there it is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do,
Now,
Mr. Robbins.
but we don't have anything on the three districts. That's the only portion. That's what
Yeah.
you say you're gonna give us on these three districts. Therefore, you're saying that you guys gonna be taxed up when it comes down to the other three districts.
No, we don't have, no, that's not what we're saying. Like the airport I was telling you about, they got $12 million to their FAA. It's on here, but you see where it says all right there? That means that's just all, we can't break that out in districts 1 through 6, so it just benefited the entire community when you ask for federal. So that's, there's no other federal funding now. Now, sometimes on a DOT project, I think Chuck's got that in one of the areas, on here, is that if you consider that federal, you know, sometimes they give us money, let's say, for example, when we do all of Forest Street, that's through DOT, but they kind of get funded, there's a mix of state money and federal money. But, you know, that's how that's funded, but as far as federal funds that we get is for the police department, other than CDBG, for Bulletproof Vest, for the airport is the majority of what you see over there, that $12 million for the airport. Other than that, that's basically it, except for HUD CDBG federal dollars is districts 1, 2, and 3 only.
The biggest dollar amount we get, if you're just looking at pure dollars, is actually GFA,
Right.
which is technically not a grant.
And that was for 23 million out there for our sewer, fixing all of our sewer, which is a citywide project. So we
And that's got
have,
to be paid back.
yeah, so that's the federal dollars, that's where it goes right now. That's where it's been for 10 years, and that's where it is.
Well, I mean, it is. I make another request,
Okay,
that what you gotta understand, and you put it in writing to explain how your point of view of high school.
I didn't understand what you said, Mr.
In other words, I'm requesting writing how you can explain the difference between the two communities as far as the funding, the way you explain it here.
Like, our CDBG is only in districts 1, 2, and 3.
How are you gonna
I
explain
mean,
it?
that's the best, that's the best I can do is CDBG HUD money is, again, only can be spent in revitalization area. 4, 5, and 6 are not revitalization areas. A tinge of the outskirts can be, but 1, 2, and 3, as you see, that's where it went. And majority, just if I remember right on that list, District 3 had the majority of that, if I remember right. At one point in time of the housing rehabs.
It did have majority, it did.
4 had no housing, 4 had no CDBG HUD infusion, 5 none, 6 none. That next column, all, like I said, will show federal dollars that we got, that just, like I said, for grants, for the airport, for our sewer system, water system, they are completely bulletproof vest, things like that. So that's, I mean, I know I'm sounding redundant, but I don't know how I can help you any more than that. So,
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
As a city manager, you know, Mr. Robinson is serious about doing some sort of a partnership type thing.
Sure.
Where we work with you, you're the city manager, you're the person who has the overall view of the city. And I understand there's never enough dollars, never enough tax money, there's not enough federal money. do what we'd all like to do. But my question really is, what do you see as ways we can bring the standards up of the community overall? You know, we've got gangs, we've got drive-by shootings. We haven't, I've lived here 23 years, we didn't have gangs and drive-by shootings, we might have been drive-by. You know, we're having more problems, and some of those are directly connected to economic problems.
Sure.
We need more jobs. Probably more than 10 years ago, I spoke to someone, and I don't remember the name, on the industrial commission, who was part of trying to get people in here. And he said, you know, people look at us on a map and they say, oh, this small town about the size of town we want, sitting on I-75, not far from I-10, it's next to Florida, you know, good market, on and on. But they come here and they look at graduation rates, they look at labor pool, and they look at the city and they drive around and they say, well, we'll get back to you, but we never get all that. And we check back with them and they say, well, we're still thinking about it, but they don't come. So there's one problem. I don't have an answer to that.
Well, I don't think there's just one answer. And I'm sorry I didn't get your name.
I'm Bob Elder.
Okay, Mr. Elder, I didn't get your name, I'm sorry. I don't think there's just one solution, but I do think where we talk a lot at council is about, you gotta have some kind of safe haven at night to lay your head. You gotta have some kind of stable home life to go home to from school. So again, that's why they kind of get to the housing part, the part of things. You know, we've talked about public transportation for years. We're providing that now so folks can get a job and go to that job and be on time and not have to worry about those kind of things. Jobs are always key. Jobs are always key. You know, we talk about it and our popularity, we get so many pluses and everywhere else in these national surveys they do. When it comes to poverty, we're one of the highest up there. A lot of that, you know, we attract a lot of retail jobs. And as we go on this room, retail jobs are not the highest paid jobs around. We have a ton of retail jobs. So to your point on jobs, absolutely, we need more of those higher hourly paying jobs. There's just no doubt about that. So yeah, that for me that's key. You know, and then just some of the things we've just got to respect human life once again with shootings that are happening in our community.
And
You know, the last one we had, they were fighting over $30 and shot and killed each other over $30. But I hear what you're saying, man. If they had a job, they wouldn't be fighting over $30. So it's just a combination of all of those type of things. Trying to get you know, for me, when I hear Dr. Case in Valdosta High School saying that in the school system there's 500 homeless, there's 500 kids that are homeless, and that doesn't mean sleeping on the grandma's. That means they don't have a safe. They can't do their homework. They can't do their homework. How can you be successful in getting your education to break some of these cycles if you don't have a safe place to do your homework? Everything's on Chromebooks. You can't do your homework if you don't have a Chromebook. So I think there's so much that to me we just can't center on one single thing. I think you got to attack like a multi-pronged approach to this to start making some change and to see some change.
City school is another issue. We're still a new gazillion-dollar school.
Right.
And African American contractors basically were cut out of there. One of them said, at the first.
Right.
There's a problem there, you know, and nobody knows any reason of why that happened. Well, it happened, you know, and
Right.
not only African American, local people got cut out. You know, people came from Ware County and halfway to Atlanta. And that's our tax dollars. I want the guy that has got a store across here or a business down there to get our tax dollars.
Sure.
There's some things that you have to go to Atlanta for certain equipment that we don't have.
Right.
But we sent a lot of tax money out of this county. So there's a problem there, you know. And I know that's not your lady with at all.
But I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. It's about job.
You know, these are the kind of things that we're bringing up,
Sure.
and we want to be constructive about this. This is not about hollering at each other.
Oh, absolutely
Nothing
not.
happens, you know. And we've hollered at each other and we don't listen to each other.
That's right, absolutely, absolutely.
No.
So one other thing along those lines that I also, and Mr. Rhines, I think a couple months ago when y'all were in here, I told I was working on something with SPOS dollar. You didn't ask for that, but I wanted to go ahead and give it to you to kind of give you an idea, along with what you asked for, Mr. Robinson, federal dollar. Our SPOS back for the last 10 years, we did the same kind of breakout, which we give the council. This is part of their reporting. Do y'all, if you pass out that check? The same kind of format, but it's our SPOS, probably 10 years of SPOS 7 and 8. Give you an idea of the projects we did in 7, 8, SPOS 7 and 8, just saying districts 1 through 6. And then a lot of the projects are just community-wide, it's whatever we did benefited the whole community. Let's say a repair Mathis auditorium or something. We didn't assign that to a district, that was for the benefit of the community. So, kind of give you an idea of kind of things, there's a lot of sidewalk projects that we've done in 1, 2, and 3. And a lot of infrastructure projects left to do. So that just kind of gives you an idea of, just kind of go with your federal dollar. I think if you look at the SPOS dollar,
I have to get you that, I didn't make enough copies.
if you look at what we've done, the SPOS $8, I think that's a little more reflective, Mr. Elder, of what we're trying to do as far as the capital projects we can do in the different areas. So that's
The
why.
allocation of the monies, I know you are the primary person, but you have then groups of people as part of your staff that work with that.
No, again, everything is, council makes those decisions on where we need to spend our SPOS dollar.
Well, not SPOS, I'm talking about your whole budget you have from federal, city taxes, you got a pile of money that comes from different places.
That's right, yeah.
Who makes, I mean, I know some of that is where you've got to do this,
Right.
got to do this, you have to do this, but.
That goes to the tax differences that I'm looking for. Like you got projects from Jerry Jones, Big Arrows,
Yeah, on your SPOS, yeah.
Right,
I
right.
thought that may be more maybe what you might be, that may be more informative for you than what you asked.
those type comparisons, and so that they can get a total graphical value, and you put a value to it, and then you can take that determination and say, well, that value outweighs this value here, or outweighs that value there. And see, the bottom line is that we got to always keep in our mind where we derive from, to get to where we is here now. And we know there were some terrible obstacles in the past, but we're trying to find remedies to get beyond those obstacles to make this thing work out in time, without having to look back over it and say, well, but we got to be able to discuss it so that we can be able to deal with it. You know as well as I know that even you put the money in over there, the water can run over that money in quite some time. Okay, and then a little fountain they got. So people come by here and they look at that, they say, wow, they ain't get the water running in the monument. But the monument is just something that's sitting there. That money is good to have. I'm not knocking it, saying we don't appreciate having it in the community. But the shit where it's sitting and located and everything around it, the deteriorated around it, it looks rather bad. It looks like a Cadillac sitting in the middle of a rain field or something of that nature. And we got to find remedies to do something. Then they like to trust the people because the system being so one-sided. The people have lost confidence and faith in the system. We got to do something to rekindle the hope. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is through our facing truths and facts. And we got to be with numbers to do that. The good talk and the pep talk and everything you're saying here, still haven't answered my question about how much money was spent on the south side versus the north.
This is all I can give you.
I understand.
I'm trying to help you the best I know how that.
I understand.
That's why we broke it down, and just, now that, the SPOS is a little bit more specific, I mean.
I understand.
That's what I want you to see that.
You can't reduce it in writing, okay? Because it don't exist. That's very
Well,
clear.
I mean, I can, let's see if we can do this. Let's look at this one. It's just the spots one here. That's just the spots one.
Yeah.
I mean, we've made it as detailed as we can. I mean, out of that amount of 152 million, $10.3 million was allocated to District 1. It's either already been spent or it's in the remaining SPLOST state budget to do. And that'd be the Fry Street project, sidewalk project that we're going all the way down. District 2 is $8.895 million. District 3, $8.6 million. District 4 is a little over 6. District 5 is 7.1, and District 6 is 8.3 because of that that Woodrow Wilson project that went through there that really benefited everybody, but because it was in District 6, we put it in District 6. So, I mean, I can give you those kind of numbers for out of $102,000. District 1, 2,
All of them is for it to be distinct, that's all.
well, okay.
Well, I personally, I think that you need to do this like you did this.
Well,
As far as tallying up to the bottom.
well, the HUD one should be. Chuck should have it like that, Mr. Rhymes.
You should have some total
That's
things.
hard to
I
draw.
don't have that one.
One right here. This is a separate sheet that I didn't get a chance to go over there. But you get the totals you're looking for right here. This is just specifically HUD. I want to show y'all how HUD did their allocations. But this is just HUD here. This is all federal here.
So I can do that, but I thought this is the detail. And you can kind of, we put a little more detail here, yeah, exactly, on River Street, here's Oak Street to wherever, you know, try to give you a little more detail. And then again by district. And then it subtotals for you here for the SPLOST. And I think what Chuck did then, he took the HUD totals, the
That
federal
is all
funding,
federal.
and this is what that, and added that to SPLOST, and just got, then that took District 11 to 11,095,000, to District 2 to 10,008,000, to District 3 to 10,200,000, 4, 6, it didn't change, see, it didn't change anything here. So, I can do it different if I need it different, I just wanna
Well, you need to do it
get it.
different.
Okay, I got it.
My understanding is not that great. Yeah, I need to simplify it to attorney record is plain understood, this God knows.
Okay.
Look,
Can you give me an idea of what, I'm really at a
Yeah, all
loss.
right, okay, all right, and be good idea. The boundaries of how the city is mapped out,
By district,
like this,
okay?
okay? And the one that have the low income side of the city, which is the old traditional black community.
Okay, when you say that, now maybe that's where we're missing the point. Are you not meaning District 1, 2, and 3, or a certain portion of Districts 1, 2, and 3? Because you go that far, I mean, we don't record things that
I know.
far. That's why we're trying to, you know, I don't know, like Morningside Drive, Continental Bunch, that's here. I don't know if you consider that where you're looking for, but it is District 1. I don't know if it's the part of District 1 you're looking for. That's where we put that. I mean, I think you're gonna have to make that determination of what you're looking for, because I'm not sure. That's why we did it that way for you. That way you could kind of pull out, maybe do your own calculations.
John keeps talking about a partnership, and that's something that we would like to do with you. And in essence, we don't so much even care about this, this is money spent.
No, it's money
We're not
budgeted.
spend it again.
No, it's money budgeted as well.
Right.
For the rest of
That's
SPLOST
what
states.
it's
And then what, no, majority SPLOST state is still here. That's why I wanted to show it, to show we are on that partnership and we want.
Projects and all
Get
that.
allocated out.
Now,
What we want,
Yeah, these are
what
budgeted
could we do going forward? you know?
right here,
Okay.
this is what this gradient, I think, is this is what we've got planned for the rest of SPLOST as far as capital project. And that's all the money I got to show you right now. So that's what that's about, and I'm with you, and that's why, I mean, again, we want to do this, we are gonna do this partner show. But right now, as I told us, when you go out there right now, it's not, President Biden hasn't gotten all the information back that he's asked his departments to do, to talk about barriers. Anybody who receives federal money, each department's doing their own audit as to the barriers into getting the dollars into unserved areas of the community. That's what's happening right now. He hasn't got that task force back together to make that determination of the amount of money. I know Mr. Roberts, you may know what that is, but none of that. And I just attended a meeting with GMA yesterday, and we talked a lot about that executive order. So we can get that information. We're 100% on board, like we've always said.
Okay, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Mike, I come out respect.
Thank you.
But, and I admire your tenacity. And I admire your leadership. And you're very aggressive at doing what you want to do. I don't mean that negative way. You're a man of action. Now, you say this money here, you already got, but they can't move money. Now, make this now.
No, that's not correct. That's
Okay.
not 100% right.
Okay,
But
now,
wait.
my point is this. Why don't you call us in? Let's get a committee and tell and present to you what we desire for you to do. This has never been done. Okay, now, case in point.
The needs of the community, as we see it.
And I'm with, and I know I'm about that.
Hold on. For example, that bridge. I'm older than you. You probably was pulling grass when I'm grown. I'm older than you too. I've been this time 7, 8 years. Boy, that's saying something. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen the sheriffs, and I've seen a lot of changes. But they have not been good for the south side, because we have not had a representative at the table. We've had city councilmen, but they were asleep. Nobody talked for the south side. You see it, look at the south, look at it. Okay, now, another point. Now you pave out all these roads, all these little whatever. We're not benefiting of the paving. Whoever does the paving, they'll benefit, which is a good job towards paving. Now, we want to see some businesses in our community. Like you, they made us some promise when they put that bridge down. That was the plan. I think that was under, no. You know, if you don't know, you can find out. They told us we had Mitchell's barbecues. Now you probably too young to heard about it.
Oh, no.
We had.
I'm
Okay, all right. Okay.
Loved it.
Okay, right. So we want some businesses in our area. You is in a position to do this.
And I hear you.
Okay, so what would you do now? Now you hear me. So what would you do? You call Brother Robinson. To Brother Robinson, I want you to get you committed. And I want you to bring me here. We're going to send out, we're going to talk.
We got it. You want it? We got it.
Yeah.
Now, on that, he's 100% right. We already formulated the group. And we wait to see what you guys' response is going to be, but if you're not going to respond, then we don't have no other alternative to go another different direction.
What do you do?
But I'm a little confused. Respond to what?
The partnership.
Okay. And we've said we're gonna do it.
Okay,
But
okay.
we don't have anything tangible.
That's all I get.
With that executive, and I've been keeping you updated. I have not.
Okay.
In our class yesterday, there's nothing, I mean, if you wanna just, something to say we're gonna partner when it's available or something.
No.
I don't think that would be what any of us.
Okay. Hold on. You got this package here.
Right.
You said Joe Biden haven't given you any direction to do. Don't worry about that. Call us in and say, TJ, Rhines, or brother, y'all come on in. What do y'all want? What improvements do you want?
And that's what we're planning on doing, when we know how that program is going to work. Well, again, from
I
my
got the
understanding,
word,
you
I
write
hear
it
you.
down.
I hear you.
I think that's how it needs to work. And when you read the spirit and intent of that executive order, that's what the spirit and intent of that executive order
Okay,
is.
that's okay, good, right, wrote that up. Now, how much money, how much of the COVID money been spent? And where?
Okay, you're talking about the ARPA money, American Rescue Plan. So there's tons of pots of money that's out there right now. Out of the ARPA.
Wrong question.
Okay.
Wrong question. The money, you got, I think you got, what, $125 million? How much?
We got the ARPA money, that's what I'm asking, you gotta be specific.
Okay, I will.
Okay,
The money that you received and you took out, I believe you gave it firemen so much. Remember that?
the whole city, not just the firemen, every city employee got the premium pay. which-
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Of that how much was in that pot?
Okay, we'll have to do it two steps.
No, just answer that. Just answer that. Just go. Just
Well, I don't understand, are you asking how much we got the first time,
Don't worry.
or how much we
Hold on,
spent?
hold on, hold on. That's the COVID money right here.
$16 million over 2 years, but we don't have it all.
Hold on,
Okay.
all right.
But the allocation is 60.
Hold on.
October for 2 years.
Y'all hold on. Okay. You got so much money out this pot here because you didn't have a director from Biden. Is that right?
That's what I'm telling you, you're mixing pots of money that you got. What, the executive order is different from this. You can't mix
I'm calling you on the city council meeting. I'm calling you now.
the executive order and the ARPA money are two different.
Okay,
Programs.
I got, hold on. Hold on. You got some money to give to the firemen in the city, et cetera, right? I'm gonna say it again. You received some money, and out of this money, you gave the city, you gave the firefighters some money, and you said you gave some of the city workers, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, now.
yes,
now,
yes.
hold on.
That's all I'm saying, yes.
Okay. How much of that money did you give out,
Okay,
and how much is left?
okay. Ready? You gonna let me do it?
Yes.
All right, good, we got it. The city's total ARPA allocation, because we're a metro city, is gonna be slightly over 16.3. Yeah, for our 2 year. They gave us half in June, $8 million something dollars. We opened a separate bank account, they deposited. Here's what's happened, and I know nobody wants to hear, but I was again in Douglas, Georgia, at the class yesterday. They gave us no guidance on how to spend it, except when it came to premium pay for essential employees. So we just felt we couldn't keep waiting. They closed the door on final recommendations to local governments on the ARPA on July 16th. So we had the money in June. They kept the interim rules to July 16th. So what's happening now is we don't have the final regs still yet. I was in conversation with Senator Warnock's office Friday. They still can't tell me when I can spend the rest of that money.
Yeah, that money I'm talking about.
Yeah, so that's what I said, they
Yeah.
can't tell me when this week's spent.
Okay.
And so, but the premium pay you're talking about, that is one bill that, because everybody suffered so much during that time, but we felt strongly here, you know, it wasn't just want police and fire, our public works guys were out collecting trash, our customer service were touching cash, so we worked out, we spent a little bit of, the ARPA, Chuck, you remember how much, 3 million?
That's close to 4.
Right, so close to 4 million out of that ARPA, okay? So that left that remaining balance, so we got 4. The remaining part of it, for everybody else, we took from CARES money that Trump had given us, well, actually Governor Kemp had given to local governments back in August, and you just have to dump it into an account. And so we combined what Governor Kemp gave us and ARPA, and we made, it was a total about Final five, right under $6 million for everybody to get something, but all that didn't come from ARPA. Because there's certain, it was our lower paid hourly rate employees that got paid out of ARPA. Everybody else got paid out of another pot of funds. So there should roughly be half of that 8.2 in there.
So all city services employees got some additional.
Yeah, premium, and you had to kind of break down essential, we had like 5 different tiers of folks because the ARPA, we knew enough of the ARPA requirements at that time that it was for your lower hourly rate employees. So they got, they got $6,000, I think they started out $6,500. They got the majority, and then as each tier went, each band got less and less, so, but that was a combination of ARPA and what Governor Kent gave us last August.
Okay, so.
Does that help? Is that-
Yeah, that's
okay.
good. So in essence, there's some money there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, and I can go to bed, go home and pray. Say, Lord, give me wisdom and knowledge to help that south side come.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
And he said that, a few years back, y'all talked about the 40-year projection and giving the south side a facelift. What are you gonna do to the south side? That's right.
a facelift?
Yeah, everybody's gonna do something for the south side.
I remember my conversation 2 years ago at the retreat, it was my comments to our council member was, ever since I've been here, before I was city manager, the talk has been there, south side. Let's stop talking, or let's find somehow to transform.
Right, so.
And that's when, so I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm hearing what all of y'all are saying,
Right.
because we've talked it. Now, if it was a formal plan, Mr. Robinson, before me, I don't,
No, well,
I don't-
all my point I'm trying to drive at is we done come to the conclusion there's a distinction that there is a south side. Okay? Since we know now that there is a distinction between the south side, there's a distinction between, that means that the north side is distinct as well. Am I right? That means that so much money has been spent on one side and so much money has been spent on the other side, since we know that there's two sides to this. I'm still wanting to know how much money was spent on the south side versus the north side. And I want to put in simple
all
terms.
right, so would you accept,
I understand this. I understand what you're proposing here.
so would you accept Mr. Robinson, 1, 2, and 3 is the south side, and 4, 5, and 6 is the north side? Would that, would you accept that?
I would say roughly, this is what you're talking about here.
Those are the numbers you sent me.
Right. These three added together
Right.
would be what was expended exclusively on the south side. And this would be, if I'm reading you right, what was exclusively on the north side. This pot of money over here is the airport. It's not really city money, but it flows through the city to get to the airport.
Right.
So it shows up on our what we call CFA, but that's not really city money. And the remainder of this, the bulk of it, is on citywide projects like water sewer infrastructure and police and fire.
This deal is a very complex deal here now. I mean, it's not just a walk in the park what we're talking about. Like, we're talking about really allocating funds and monies that's being utilized. The point I'm getting at is, we know that the community is deplorable right now, and we know we got some, just like he explained, this few minutes ago, it's really bad, like we was having a partnership. We're trying to come to a conclusion to get a resolution to where we're going to go, okay? Now, it's gonna be up to you guys to determine which way we're going with this. Not gonna be up to us, it's up to you guys, all right? Now, it's gonna be the way you explain it. And I want you to explain it in writing. Now, this is what I propose. I need all federal aid projects done with the city over the past 10 years. And how many was on the south side?
And if you were to, are you happy with 1, 2, and 3 against?
I understand.
Yes, but are you good, are you comfortable with us saying districts 1, 2, and 3 are the south side, you need this
Well,
information.
that's what you determine is the south side. And, no,
This is your
it's
information,
it's
Mr. I want to make
it's
sure.
gonna be my information, but it's determined based upon how you got the districts broke out. You know what the south side is. I don't care what the south side is. You the city manager. And if you don't know, it means you're the poor city manager. I mean, and
I
I
think, that's what I'm saying, for me, 1, 2, and 3 is the south side. Over 84 is a little more south side, so if you will give me, you mean on the other side of 84, listen, and I can get that for you, but when you say, for me, and I say 1, 2, and 3 is south side because that's the revitalization area that HUD assigns is districts 1, 2, and 3. We don't make that determination. HUD looks at the census tracts. They do that. That's not us. So that's why I want to get you what you want, but I want to make sure we're giving it to you how you need it. So for us, we look at it for HUD.
I want you to give me your point of view of how you manage the city based upon its districts and determining this is the south side or this is the north side. That's all.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if you want to say it's the 3 districts, that's what you say, that's what it is.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what HUD tells
But
us.
we're saying the same thing over and over
I
again.
think we
So
are.
I think that to resolve the issue, I think I'm correct in this from sitting here listening. All Mr. Robinson asked me is what you said. Send him a letter, put it in writing.
I will.
Yes,
I will.
sir.
I just want to get it to what he wants.
Right,
Yes.
right. If you just put it in writing, that was the noise, it was this the south side and this is the north side. And I think that's what he's asking.
That's
Okay.
Whether it makes sense to you or not, or whether you understand it,
Right.
just, that's what he requested.
That's it. And it's just that simple. And we do partnership and get something moving along those lines that's positive with the people tribunal and can initiate that, like he was saying, and do that rather swiftly or however, go and get something started. And then we got to wait for everything to progress. We can wait for everything to progress. But at least we can get something started. The problem that we feel is that the structure of the city, I don't want to sit here and sugarcoat anything. I want to call it just like it really is. The upper echelons of the city have always been a white power structured place. And we know that's on the high side of how the city is operated and run. So what I'm basically saying is that that's how it's been here for years and years and years. And it's not about the race, it's not about the races, but it's for facts. Is that we got multi-millionaires here, we got billionaires here, and we got people that live on a certain level and a certain lifestyle, and people that pull strings in government. We know this. So what we're saying is for justice and equality for us is to work based on the facts of truth. Okay? And you the city manager, and we know the mayor may come in, he got an agenda, this is what he said, and this is what he says on his radio, or whatever the case may be. But we do know for the facts that reality is staring us in the face every day. And we find our kids, you take the deal with KJ over there, you know, that young man left home, he didn't make it back home. And everybody thinking something that just shouldn't take the lightly. And those people suffered out of the loss of one of their loved ones, and then you get no justification of any kind, just for the idea of mine to leave home. I expect him to return home, and he's in the school's custody. They are allowed for him, but nobody said nothing. Nobody from the city, nobody from any place said anything along those lines. So therefore, it means that his life can be in peace. So this is just how it's reflected. It's just the way it's reflected. So if you just give me something in writing of your point of view of how you see fit that you run the city versus the south side versus the north side, whatever district you break it up in. So we ask. He's one over there.
I'd like to say 2 things. One is that there are 2 Valdostas. I think it's like it's 2 Americans, really, and one black and one white. I hate to say it that way, but I think most people agree with that. But the things that John is talking about is something that have existed for a long time in the black community. We see change, we see progression, but we are not a part of it. I'm not saying that you can solve it,
I understand.
but we all are saying that we cannot continue and have no intentions, nor letting up. We are going to find out what's wrong here, and we want to fix it. We know that when the streets are paved, come down to DOT, and how these contracts are distributed out, we have been all down that road trying to get equal justice, where we can say, we are getting justice. We're not getting it. That's in the eyes of people in the black community. And so to sit down and to let that system go on, where our children and grandchildren have no hope, they can go and get a concrete facility or asphalt company, and they still are not a part or included. We feel that pain, and we don't felt it so long. He used the term of a white man's system going on here. We know that. But the question is, who will address it? I mean, we knew we had segregation for a long time. Nobody ran up and said we're going to get rid of it just like that. It took a long process. So to make a long story short, my thing is, and this is my question, Mr. Marbar, do you see a problem in terms?
Yes, I see a problem.
Okay, do you see a problem in terms of? Now I don't even want to put it like that. I actually like this. The CDBG grants and how the money is spent today and under your tenure. You feel comfortable with the way it's being spent?
As far as what we spend the money on, as far
Yes,
as.
sir. As far as being fair in the way it was intended by the federal government, do you feel comfortable with the way it has been spent based upon the documents that the city has?
I won't speak for my tenure.
That's why I said that you're.
But since, yes, because HUD, that's the intention of HUD, is affordable, decent, safe housing for folks to live in. And that's what we do, as I said, with the majority of the money. That's what council feels they would want to spend that annual allocation on. So yes, I do, especially the things we've done with the homeowner classes. You've been involved with some of the classes we do, the FDIC classes that we've done, and that's all funded through CDBG, those kind of classes. So I do feel good about that. Now, somebody that doesn't think perhaps getting rid of substandard housing is the best option, then no, they're not going to think about it. But as far as what we're trying to do in establishing affordable housing, decent housing for folks, yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
yes.
okay, I got the message. I want to say that, we have videotape of James Wright, who was a councilman.
Right.
And he had problems with our CDBG grants, money was being spent. And we go back from time to time and we look at that. My last question is this. When Mr. Robinson filed his open records request, I filed one too. I haven't heard anything from you all.
Well, and I thought let me just say this, I don't see them when they come in or go out. But I thought I heard you down here one day at the door, and so I'm gonna ask about it. But I said, well, maybe that y'all were together because y'all come together a lot. So let me check on that for you. So I thought that might be, y'all came together that day, but.
Yeah, but I abided by the OCGA rules, and that's a 3-day, 72-hour turnaround,
Right.
and it's been
Could you get that to me?
too long.
Did you get
The
it?
clerk, the brother,
Right.
like
Okay.
that.
All right.
And,
I will check on that, because I did hear you down at the door.
Yeah, and the reason I didn't send it to the council meeting, because I didn't want to, I want to see how long you all going to ignore that.
Well, not ignoring it, because
I submitted.
yeah, I got to see, I don't know, I'll just check it out, so we can see where that's at.
Can you mention,
Yes.
they talk about the south side, and nothing happens, you say, I'm ready to do something. What stops there? What, something happens, or something doesn't happen?
Right.
I
Well, and I've shared this with Mr. Robinson before, a lot of times when new smaller businesses come in, they may call me. They usually go through the industrial authority. It's not the city or the county. I take him, I ride him down here over the overpass. As we've talked about before, the businesses around that perimeter, because what's inside down there is the housing. So that's why I say I think housing is important, because that's in the center. The commercial sides are around the perimeter of the residential. And there's no interest in it.
There's no interest from
There's no
people
interest.
who are wanting to
So
start.
it's just, yeah, I'll tell you, the last one probably last year was Rose's department store. They called me, they didn't call that, so I said, come on, I gotta get it right, that lot down there. Close to where the bank is, that farmer's bank down that open lot there, or where Gold Leaf Restaurant used to be. I had got some place, took them down there. They didn't like and I shared this with Mr. Robinson, I believe, as well. We had hosted a cleanup the week before, over there in that area on Wise and Baker, all in the crop. I thought it would still be nice looking. It looked just like it did with trash and stuff before, and that's what they're, and I'm trying to tell them, they don't look this way all the time. This is, well, it'll stay clean when you're here, So that's the biggest thing I've heard when I've taken people, because what we were trying to do, our goal was, when I told council that today, I wanted to start at the overpass and just start there and move outward, move down that corridor of South Patterson. And then, like I said, hit those like Weiss and Baker lanes in the residential area, get those cleaned up. I would tell you, council did allow me to buy some properties that we can just rehab ourselves. That's one of the problems that we have where a lot of other cities, we don't own property where we can, like that, like that Roses, I didn't own that to be doing that. I was just taking them in hopes of generating enough interest to get them talking to the owner, but the interest wasn't there.
See, this is kind of thing we need to hear, it's why we need to interact with each other, because we can probably do something about
Yes,
it.
sir.
Well, Mr. Robinson's had these conversations, and Mr. Ryan's over the years, I've shared this with them, I hadn't shared with you guys, but I have shared, and I'll tell you another thing, we were talking about the school system, and they say they don't do it, but here's something that just burns my behind, is this. Real estate agents, look at your real estate signs, what do they say? County schools. County schools. So they sell, when they are selling by us, they make you automatically think that the city school system's not good. Now, I know y'all don't agree with how that school was built, but it's a good school system. It's there with lounge, but look at the real estate signs, what does it say? County schools. That's not selling us, that's not helping get, because when businesses are looking in, you have to think about their employees they're bringing in. So if you got a system here that's saying, don't come into the city, the school system's poor, we only advertise for the county school. That's what I'm saying, there's so many variables that can add into making this thing work good.
If you restructure the economic sector of it,
And I agree with that.
you change the environment, you change the people.
And I agree, and I agree. So I can't really control the commercial side, only when folks want it, and I take them, but there's definitely something we can do always on the residential side. So that's why we focus, I think, Mr. George, on the residential substandard housing, because we can, that's something we can do.
We're asking for the $250 million, that's the purpose we're asking for, so we can have some control with the city and sit down, as group he is referring to, and we can sit down, we already got the people together, we can sit down and start planning.
Sure.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And we talked about using the old cookie factory and this kind of thing for the incubator, for the whole 9 yards. So it's something that if we come together, we can make it work. If we don't come together, we got to do something.
I'm with you, I'm not disagreeing with any, I think we're all saying the same thing, I really do. Yes, sir.
You said you talked with the city council about the south side and you taking people over there to show them the place. Okay, now, it's a road on very shame. You got city council members. I'll get you, okay, don't worry about it.
That's based on.
Yeah, and we appreciate,
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate the openness,
I just want to get you after you spoke, I'm like, I don't think maybe we gave you what you quite want, so I just want to make sure we're getting you what you want.
No, you not.
So we'll get you, and we'll keep trying to get
And
there.
I'll put something in writing, I explain to
Gotcha.
you how you feel that the city manager, the city is broke up in its phases, and how much money you feel to spend on this side, how much money to spend on this side. It's simple as that.
Right, but, and I will do that, but, you know, I'm just gonna, I know you're not gonna have one time to say here, but at the end of the day, the council makes, Mark Barber does not make those final decisions. I can suggest and help, but at the end of the day, I don't make, and I'm not throwing that on count, that's just how the setup is.
Now, like I told you, I got a lot of respect for you.
But, you know, I can suggest, but I just, you know, so just in reference that I don't make that final decision. Well, y'all know how.
John, so if we can work a partnership, we need some citizens.
Time out, we got 60 days, 30 days.
Citizens, that's not your job to take care of it. It's our job to receive something else.
I'm sorry.
What about the time frame? What kind of time you need?
It's Tuesday. Just, I will tell you tomorrow, but I'll tell you what, let's say Thursday, will 48 hours be all right, just to make sure we get it drafted right? Okay. Chuck, is that good, man? Is that good?
You know, rush, take your time.
Tuesday week, John?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, right in the same spot.
Okay, and then Mr. Ryan's out, finds yours as well, we'll take care of that. So, I mean,
Tuesday week,
okay,
what's the date, John?
What's the schedule on putting signs on what was Forest Street?
that is, they're already they're gonna start replacing signs, I think in 2 weeks maybe, but then the final date will be November 1st. October 30th is the celebration, then November 1st is when everything will be replaced.
Will the paving be done?
That's gonna, see, that will be North Forest Street, so that's a $27 million project. And I hear what you're saying, that's the DOT, $27 million project, and I hear what you're saying, they don't want to use local folks. And we've been there battling with DOT, we're trying to get local folks to make it, but this falls on deaf ears, I'm just gonna be honest, we don't get any inroad with them, and it's so aggravating, because we have to depend on them financially for some things like this $27 million project, but yet, you know, we've got qualified folks here. We could even have some that went through their little, I don't guess it's a test or whatever that little criteria you gotta go through. Never, I think they just did it to satisfy you. So I hear you, what you're saying about DOT and those projects. But it is a $27 million project, so we're not gonna turn it away. But that's scheduled for 2020, the start of like right away acquisition, probably 2025. That's when we'll get ready for that. That'll be a nice project.
Get us the answers on what we asking for.
Sure.
And you make it plain, we can make it.
Will do.
And make it as simple as you can. You can turn it out.
All right, I shall do it.
And you say it's 72 hours or so,
Yeah, or you want to, I mean,
Yeah, Tuesday week.
that'd be fine.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, I really heard something, I think I'm allowed me to come out, I know it, but I couldn't.
You're the same way.
Listen to your spirit. It's a safe haven center, gotta go in this town. And it's education money, it's DOT money, it's everybody, because hood money, and put that in front of them. That's a diamond in the rough. Safe haven center. You ain't gotta worry about the 500 kids, they ain't got no place to go, because there's a safe haven city
And,
coming